Hello, everybody, and welcome to a bonus episode of the Headspace podcast where normally we go through albums track by track and break them down, give our thoughts and opinions on each and every song. But today we're going to do something a little bit different as we talk about Czarface's Dog Days of Tomorrow. My name is HSR, or Holden Stefan Roy, depending on how you know me, and I'll be here today doing something just a little bit different because this is an instrumental tape. So before we jump into it, I'm going to just say I don't know a whole lot about beats and shit. I just listen to them, vibe to them, but as far as describing them, it's not really my strength and forte. So I thought I would try something more like tell you what I thought as I listen to this beat. So before we jump into today's different episode, I want to just give a special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Prado, Super Old School 1994, Carl, and Lindell Williams. So yeah, basically this came out. I did all the prep work for it and I didn't listen to it because sometimes I just go ahead and like look at shit and do the prep work and then listen to it after as I do my review. It's just kind of saving some time. So I didn't realize at first that this was going to be a beat tape. I even got Chris to create the thumbnails. So we got it all done, and then I was like, oh, okay, it's a beat tape. What the fuck am I going to say about that? So today, instead of the normal, we're going to, I guess, talk about just what came into my head and kind of almost like a story from this like album as I listened to it. The album is called Dog Days of Tomorrow. It's a little EP. It's like not even 7 minutes long in length, and it's 4 tracks. And so I went through them, and as I listened to each track, I listened to it 3 times in a row, and I just wrote whatever the fuck came into my mind. And all things considered, what I wrote might not correspond with this comic book cover you see in the corner where there's this metallic dog and shit. I guess maybe I should have wrote about the dog. I didn't, but it's a really cool cover. I love the fact that it's like a comic. I don't know if there is like a comic. Maybe I'm just ignorant to how deep the Czarface universe goes. So if you want to educate me on that, feel free to do so. Always just feel free to leave a comment. But I don't have a lot more to say because really this is just story time with HSR. This is the first, and if you guys like it and you think it's fun, let me know what beat tapes you want to hear, and maybe I can go through and write stories and we can try something completely different than what I've done. You'll still hear the 5-second cuts like normal because that's what we do here, copyright and all, but basically if you go play this song and like have it looping as I talk about each part of the story, you'll hear kind of what I was hearing as I wrote that part of the story. And it's not a good story. It's just trash that it came together to me as I was listening. So let go. Let's see what happened. Basically, everything starts with a Czarface theme. When I first heard this, it was swagged out, it was pumping, it's pulsing, and then I just kind of pictured Czarface like wakes up, and he's hopping out of bed, and he decks himself out in Czarface bling. Like, listen, super villain hero, you gotta be costumed, you gotta be stylish, it's just part of it. So he's in his little Czarface mansion underground cave thing. I pictured it as like that, and he's kind of heading through these layers of hallways and shit, and it's all twisty and twirly. It's superfluous, right? Because he's a villain, and villains are superfluous. And as he goes down the hallways, you realize a lot of this is to confuse intruders, and he's showing off his brilliance and shit. So you see all sorts of booby traps and stuff and things like little lasers, tripwires, and he just kind of glosses through because it's all super high tech and modern, so it knows not to trigger for him. Welcome to 2019. Anyway, he gets to a private jet, and he gets inside, and this kind of like takes off from the side of a mountain, and he's in his jet lounging around, and there's a couple of stewardess ladies on board. It might be a little bit smoky. You can picture him smoking a little something something as a kid. It's kind of like this hazy feel inside of the jet. But given that as the beat progresses, it gets a little more intense, and it's like it carries out just long enough to go from like fun and interesting into this maybe more stressed and strenuous feel. So I kind of picture he looks down at this futuristic watch, like a Apple Watch or some shit, where it's like your phone, except that instead of just being like that, it projects this whole thing up his arm, and like he sees like this message coming in, and it's like a HoloLens, because you know the Microsoft lens is coming, and that's fucking cool, and Star Trek's fucking dope, and I'm always into that world. And it shows this like incoming message, like he's a fucking spy connected to this whole network of shit, and it basically just says there's tomfoolery being performed by whack rappers, and he's got to come deal with it. Not to call Ghostface a whack rapper, but he's still kind of like like reveling in the aftermath of his epic battle with Ghostface and shit. So things are not really done in his mind. He's still ready to go. It's time to unload on some suckers. So meanwhile, the jet lands right in the middle of like this rave-like party thing. I don't know. I went to a rave once in Montreal. It was in the middle of a field, so I picture it like being like that with like a fire burning and shit. But instead of techno music, it's just like this shady hooded figure with some blinged out shit, like fake bling, like just like excessive, like to the point of just materialistic excess. And he's kind of handing it out to kids, like he's trying to get all these youthful people, these prospectives, into this world. So, and it just looks like some shit's about to go down. Czarface kind of looks up, he gets ready, and that's about all I got for the first song. The beat's fucking dope. If I give it a grade, I guess it's like they're all getting a 4.5. Everything is equally dope. It's a really enjoyable thing to listen to. But yeah, that was part one of my little story. Let's move into part two with Who's a Good Boy. Let's be real, this beat kind of has this shadiness to it, this do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, like some shit is about to go down. So what I picture is this opponent of Czarface is rallying these kids, kind of like, see, I told you we could get the menace to appear. Let's unite against him. And immediately this like crowd of kids is equipped with like this mecha armor type shit and laser weapons, and it's all ready to go. Like picture, I don't know, like when you get into that robot shit and you got like shoulder cannons and all that shit, you know, handguns, whatever your imagination allows, that's what's going on. And it's almost like this machine is just instantly taking out his youth and getting them ready. So they start to unload this barrage on Czarface, and you can just picture all this lasers firing everywhere, and he's kind of ducking out. He jumps into the air and he has fucking jetpacks on his feet. Why? Because he just fucking does. It's my imagination. So he starts barrel rolling and dodging around like he's fucking Iron Man. These kids is all around him. They're shooting around up in the air, and it's like a real battle's going on where he's fucking skilled. So meanwhile, he turns, and behind him, he realizes he's being taunted by those who used to be friends, as they, somehow armed and ready to fucking go, are also firing at him. So what he thought his back was cool is no longer, and he's now surrounded on all sides, both by these youth simultaneously and these ex-friends, these people who were once down for the cause, we can say, and their armament basically rivals that of this new army of youth. And so Czarface, he has skills. He turns and unloads his artillery, but he's a smart dude, right? So he's not just gonna come in blasting. There's too many motherfuckers out there, so he goes straight to his ninja prowess as he ducks straight into the shadows. Slowly and kind of bit like a sniper, he starts cornering various opponents as he sees them. So I picture this kind of like when you're running through a level in a video game, and everybody you encounter is basically and essentially useless. These are things that are there specifically to die. They are no substance opponents, like the wolves in Witcher 3. Once you learn how to dodge that shit, it's actually kind of easy to kill them. I suck at video games, so bear with me. The equivalent of those, so basically, yeah, the equivalent of those NPCs that exist solely to die. And if you're more like into Star Trek and shit, you can picture them as red shirts for you older folk who would know what the fuck that means. Anyway, Czarface fires his lasers with precision. He's always slicing at key areas to kill quickly with the least amount of efforts. But his opponents, they think they're the shit. So whether it's the old or the youth, they have vapid bravado. It's all nothing. It's just fluff. Day in and day out, he finds the same things, the same arguments. And it's like, he starts wondering as he's taking these people out, how can anyone really think they can defeat the mighty Czarface just on sheer numbers? Skill matters. It manifests. If none of you are strong enough to defeat him, even in bulk, he can just slice through and tear you apart one by one, destroying the unity that got brought together. Saddened that they seem to have this like open war against him in effect. The youth are like one thing, but they are blinded to what's immediately in front of them, so they never see him coming. However, when he's dealing with his former allies, they do know some things. They present a little bit more of a challenge. He realizes that the shiny and new that the youth are into is only manifesting because his former allies have turned on him. They gave up the fight that they all agreed to go into together. And then they turned him into a dog, somebody to keep working, somebody to keep fighting alone, and they taunt him. They left him with nothing. They devalue his entire existence with their assault, whereas once they supported him. So after a bunch of relentless assaults, he starts to wonder if simply just because these friends have become enemies. That the message. Sorry, I don't even know what the fuck I wrote here. Literally, I wrote, relentless assaults. Could it be what has been simply hidden because friends become enemies when the message attacks the basics behind belief? Oh, that was better than trying to interpret it. So yeah, he's basic. I don't know. You can take what you want from that. He's basically what I'm trying to convey is, when people know you from back in the day and turn on you and shit, it's like, how can you expect to deal with the new threat when the people who know you become also a simultaneous other new threat? I don't know. So Czarface, being a smart dude, he feels mocked. He feels like it's all hopeless and shit, and he like kind of retreats, and he's not interested in getting trapped into the cycles that everyone else seems to be in. And even if that last little bit was confusing, this is my first try at this. Anyway, that's okay, because the song ended and I moved on to Czar In Action. On the real, I'm a little bit of a sucker for a heavy bass line, so I could just picture the boom, 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 boom. I really like that. But it had this like a tide turning thing, but like a cool, calm, collected version. So in my imagination, Czarface hollers at his tech guy, the one who hooked him up with jetpack feet. You know, there's always a fucking tech guy, let's be real. He realizes it's time to upgrade his infrastructure, break free, and launch his own relentless assaults at those he formerly considered friends, because let's be real, the kids, they're just kind of watching what's happening. So he quickly acclimates wins with his new gear and like this cliche fighting montage. So he's blasting out motherfuckers and shit, flying around with like super jetpacks, and he's like breaking through doors. He got X-ray vision, whatever the fuck you want him to have. He's Czarface. Use your imagination, fill out a superhero deck or a super villain deck. I don't really care. He heads right out and he just trains. Fear doesn't really exist to him. Even if something goes wrong, he has no time for it. So I just kind of picture him running through building after building, just blasting through pleb after pleb. And then the realization that he has in the middle of this is he thought that his old friends would present some kind of real challenge, but there was never really a boss. It was just a sea of NPCs, a sea of nameless people. Maybe they were a little bit tougher, but once he upped his own shit, he just came back and murked everybody like it was nothing. And then he starts wondering shit, like certainly the opposition has to be more than just a bunch of like level 1 enemies in mass numbers. And then he starts thinking, when millions of individual lasers are flying around and you're dodging, it might feel and look a certain way, and you might feel kind of trapped in shit, but he lashes back. So he levels up, he trains, he figures out how to fire in the midst of this dodging. And then finally, as he's taken on the old friends that have become enemies, these kids who were watching and blasting at him start to realize how empty the shiny and new really is. So they're no longer blinded. They're into his fucking supremacy as he destroys the opposition, and they realize there is another way to do all of this. Slowly, they turn their guns on those same old allies and join Czarface as a liberation move heading towards a better state of consciousness for everyone. Czarface heads straight towards the main fortress of the super duper hater heads. He sees a melon, and he leaves it because the melon means well, even if he doesn't always listen to the albums more than once. He looks and he realizes that in the process of sheer excellence, he overachieved and accidentally took out all sorts of neighborhoods worth of fool, meaning that he was so good at what he did and he murked everybody that he saw that he created an entire train of motherfucking destruction behind him. So when he turns around, he realizes there's almost nothing left. Everything's decimated except for this army of outcasts backing him who are willing to turn on what is considered to be what it's supposed to be in a pursuit of what it should be instead. Anyway, seeing how no one ever had the real soul and depth to fight back, it's all chaos, but he gets labeled a nemesis for creating this chaos. Jobs were lost over the destruction of the shiny and new, and any other tactic possible used to vilify him was done. Meanwhile, the youth look on in awe, seeing this rebellious figure, this vigilante hero that inspires them, dreaming of another way, even if it's only going to come at another day. And at that point, we have to move into end title. So here we are at end title, and honestly, it's like Czarface is back in the jet. He's won the day. Obviously, the battle's not over. Everything was too easy, and he looks over at the ladies that were in the jet cabin as he sparks up a blunt and leans back in his chair. The vibe is so retro and funky. I almost pictured these disco balls and this old, like, plushy, swaggy shit from back in the day. He proceeds to receive fellatio from two ladies while he looks down and reads updates about the current state of the world on his super HoloLens phones, but mostly he's bored and he's looking for another challenge to take on. He realizes there must be someone else out there, another face that he can challenge. I want to hear another album. The end credits start rolling as he sits pensive. We can no longer see the screen, but he smiles knowingly as he has realized who the next target is going to be. We cut to see like the plane flying towards some unknown destination. We then cut over and it's like this new challenger approaching. Smash Bros type bullshit happens, but you can't really see who the fucking person is. And it looks like it's about to be revealed, but it doesn't happen yet, right? Because we're hyping up for the next thing. But we never really see it. We just know something is coming, something intense, something more epic than we have seen thus far. And the other day I had another fucking potential face he could take on, and I tried so hard to remember it, but I fucking failed. Anyway, so I'll leave that with like a question to y'all. Who is this mysterious person that Czarface would take on the next album? As far as like grades, I don't fucking know. I think all these beats work really fun. If you want something to just kind of like vibe to and kind of loop out for a little bit, and you don't want some techno, you want some good like, you know, hip hop beats, this is cool. Yeah, I found it was really fun. But I was mostly interested in to see what would happen if I just wrote down whatever the fuck came to my mind. And that's what this whole episode really was. So like I said at the beginning, if you can think about, if you like this, fuck, just let me know in the comments. This might have been trash. This might have been entertaining. I have no way to know because I've kind of never done something like this quite the same before. But maybe that could be a trend. Maybe we could all make stories to beat tapes and compare, and we could turn that into a thing. I guess in a sense that's how fucking rapping works. But nah, I just wanted to use my imagination. So let me know what you thought. Always feel free to hit me up in the comments. Definitely special thanks to the patrons: Milk MC, Chris Prado, Super School 1994, Carl and Lindell Williams. They support what we do, helped us get a new camera. They get to force us into album reviews and tell us what to do in that regard. So you'll see the next couple of weeks have some patron-driven requests happening. If you want to get in on the action, you can check us out there. Otherwise, I dropped a project recently on Spotify and all that good shit. Hell, if you hit the Behind That Suit channel, you'll see a few songs you can check out right over there. Let me know what you thought of any of it, and I look forward to getting back to you with something else soon. That K-Reno review is still coming, I promise.